Day 2 of the US Open is complete, and although it wasn't as eventful as the previous day's action, there were still some interesting storylines. First, continuing with yesterday's biggest topic, Stefanos Tsitsipas and Andy Murray's squabble concerning the Greek men's extended bathroom break and medical timeout. Murray wasn't happy at all with Steph's pauses in play, accusing him of cheating and gamesmanship. Tsitsipas denied these claims in his post-match presser, but clearly Murray wasn't buying it. Yesterday morning, the Scot tweeted this shady dig at the world number 3 saying, "Fact of the day, it takes Stefanos Tsitsipas twice as long to go to the bathroom as it takes Jeff Bezos to fly into space. Interesting." This tweet did numbers and caused even more buzz about the whole matter. No, I like Andy, I think he's a really good guy and he's one of the few ATP players to actively root for. However, I feel like he's doing too much now with the tweet. His voicing the criticism on court or in the press conference is one thing, but going on Twitter and calling Tsitsipas' name directly is ballsy and pretty audacious. Also, by the way, Andy said in his press conference that he expected this from Tsitsipas, so maybe it shouldn't be as big of a deal to him. Like I said though, the tight loss probably added fuel to the fire, and I guarantee you if he had won this match, he wouldn't have done nor said half these things. Regardless, as aforementioned, the issue has garnered quite a bit of attention in the tennis realm, as now players are starting to chime in. Milos Raonic tweeted yesterday that Andy was right in his concerns, but doubled down and called for a change in the coaching rules. The Canadian said, "Why do coaches and boxers sit so close to the court? It's an individual sport. Remove coaching issues by having the team and box further away. It's an individual sport. US Open should know this after recent events." Meanwhile, last year's US Open champ Dominic Thiem, who of course skipped New York due to the wrist injury, gave his thoughts to the Tennis Channel's crew.
I saw almost all the match and I can totally understand Andy. But my point of view is that you, especially in the conditions of New York, you need to go out in a five-setter at least twice, because you just need to change your pants. There's no way around that, especially if you sweat that much. But there should be a time limit to that, because if you go out and you change all your clothes, it doesn't take longer than 3-4 minutes, maximum 5. So there should be a time limit on that, because I heard Andy's press conference and he was right. It just cools down your body and you're getting stiff and it's not easy at all. So there should be a time limit, but it needs to be allowed to go out just to change your clothes, because once, it also happened to Andy, once all the sweat is going down to your shoes, to your feet, you cannot move anymore. So that's my point of view of that. But in general, it was a hell of a match and great for tennis. And sometimes it's good if things are spicing up a little bit.
I agree with Thiem. It's understandable to change your clothes multiple times, especially with the New York humidity. As Domi said though, there needs to be a time limit because 7-8 minutes is far too long to be changed in clothes. It's not like Tsitsipas was wearing a Serena catsuit or anything. It should be pretty quick. Take Francis Tiafoe, who only needed 1 minute and 40 seconds to change his clothes during his opening round match. Now, the man who lost the team last year in the finals, Alexander Zverev, shared his thoughts as well following his win over Sam Querrey. Zverev was actually one of the first players to call Tsitsipas out for his bathroom shenanigans in Cincinnati, accusing the 23-year-old of receiving coaching while off the court.
This is just again, it's happening every match. It's not normal. It happened to me in the French Open, to Novak at the finals, the French Open. I think in Hamburg against Krajinovic, he was complaining. Against me in Cincinnati was ridiculous. And then now here again. I think players are catching up on that. And to be honest, he's a number 3 player in the world. He's a top 3 player in the world. So he's one of the best in the world at what he does. And I do not believe that he needs to do that, because if you're top 3 in the world, you're one of the best in the sport. These kind of things happen at junior events, at futures, at challengers maybe, but not when you're top 3 in the world. Yes, I have been breaking rackets, I go insane sometimes and all that, but one thing I'm very proud of, and I will keep it for the rest of my career, is I win and lose by playing tennis on the tennis court. He's gone for 10 plus minutes. His dad is texting on the phone. He comes out and all of a sudden his tactics completely change. It's not just me, but everybody saw it. The whole game plan changes. I'm like, either it's a very magical place he goes to, or there is communication there. I mean, but I also don't want to disrespect him. He is a great player. He is number 3 in the world for a reason, and he's winning tournaments and playing incredible tennis this year for a reason. So it's not only that, but I do believe, and Dandy said it as well, there is some level of respect that everybody needs to have between players. And I feel like, yeah, sometimes, or he might just go to the toilet. We don't know that. I mean, it's also possible, but it just happens too often.
Now, the players have also been retweeting Murray and have been making subtle digs at Stefanos, which tells me that he isn't really well liked. I watched the US Open's official tournament preview where Tiafoe kinda alluded to this when speaking about him. Stefanos himself said that he grew up without a lot of friends and has often talked about how he doesn't have many friends on tour. To me, this could be because he comes off as standoffish and perhaps a bit arrogant, but there could be some other things that he does behind the scenes that we don't know about. I definitely do think Tsitsipas does a bit of gamesmanship, as does a few other players. I remember he tapped his racket midpoint versus Chavovolov in Miami to break the focus of the Canadian. Things like this aren't going to get him cool points in the locker room, but he doesn't care. Tsitsipas is definitely a peculiar person, but it could be due to his upbringing because his brother Petros also seems to be on that weird stuff. Aside from tweeting totally false COVID conspiracies, Petros threw quite a bit of shots at Murray yesterday with some shady social activity. Now, I understand you wanted to stick up for your brother, but Petros needs to just focus on improving his game instead of leeching off of undeserving wild cards. Now, quickly wrapping up my thoughts, I think Stefanos was wrong, but the issue shouldn't have blown up like this. It's not the biggest deal. It's interesting how these players are more upset and more vocal about a bathroom break rather than full-on abuse allegations with Zverev. Anyways, focusing on the tennis action yesterday, Barty took the court on Ash after Alexander to face 2010 finalist Zvonareva. Ash got out to a blistering start, taking the opening set 6-1 in 25 minutes. However, an improving Zvonareva and the malfunctioning line calling system halted the Aussie's momentum a bit, and things got to a tiebreak despite Ash being up 5-3 in the second. Ultimately, the world number 1 prevailed, claiming a 6-1, 7-6 win. Barty's next opponent won't be easy as she now gets 18-year-old Dane Clara Towson, who's also been confident winning a 125 event in Chicago a few weeks ago. Barty's section does open up though with the exit of 22nd seed Karolina Muchova, who fell to Sarah Sriba's Tormo in straight sets. Although Tormo did beat Ash in Tokyo last month. Ash though won't have to face the seed until the quarterfinal as Kudermetova lost to Kirstea and Jen Brady withdrew yesterday ahead of her match with Emma Raducanu. Speaking of Raducanu, the qualifier looked very solid en route to her first main draw win here in New York. She could definitely make another solid run here with no seeds in her path early on either. Still though, the women's seeds really dominated by the way. Swiatek, Pliskova, Kvitova, Bencic, Pavlyuchenkova, Sakari, Pegula, Kontaveit, and Martic all earning convincing straight set wins. Now a woman who did not have an easy debut was Bianca Andrescu, who needed nearly 3 hours to defeat Victoria Gojevic 7-5, 4-6, 7-5. This was definitely the match of the day, and it also featured a bit of drama as Andrescu had a bit of a health scare in the middle of the second set. Gojevic, who's a women's quarterfinalist, definitely made BB earn it, as she's played very well herself. Andrescu really seemed to thrive in these 3-setters because this is her 10th third set win this season. BB definitely did not play her best today, but she'll definitely be happy to get through that tough exchange. By the way, Bianca said that her little scare wasn't serious at all, and she just had something to do with her stomach. Looking at the men's section, the biggest name by far, Novak Djokovic, started his bid for the calendar year Grand Slam. Novak faced off against 18-year-old Dane Holger Rune and took an easy, comprehensive 6-1 first set. In the second though, Djokovic started missing more first serves and routine shots in general, which boosted the young Dane to a 3-love lead. Djokovic unsurprisingly bounced back well and took the next 4 games to get a break advantage. Now unexpectedly though, Novak succeeded the break and ultimately lost the second set in a tiebreak. With the momentum and crowd on his side, Rune looked to capitalize off the Serb's subpar play, but his body began to fail him. Holger is apparently a frequent cramper and the cramps did take over for the remainder of the match. Meanwhile, Djokovic, as he's done time and time again, turned it up towards the end of the match and took the third and fourth sets in 51 minutes combined. The final score ended up being 6-1, 6-7, 6-2, 6-1. I don't know what it is against Novak. This year he's had the most trouble against the younger players and the majors. Fritz in Melbourne, though not that young, pushed him to 5. 19-year-old Lorenzo Musetti took a 2-sets-to-love lead over Novak in Paris. Then at Wimbledon, Jack Draper was one of the 2 men to take a set off of Novak that fortnight. I'm totally not surprised that Holger made the match somewhat competitive because he had a lot more match reps coming off a 13-match win streak. Rune also has great athleticism and excellent shot-making abilities. He also showed great fight, staying with Novak despite the early deficit. I would like to see him improve with point construction though, as well as incorporating more variety in his game. This was an interesting performance from Novak. It definitely wasn't his best, but it's not unusual for him to start off scratchy early on in slams. I don't know if it's the crowd or the weight of the calendar year Grand Slam, but Djokovic looked very muted last night and also played very fast on his service games. After the match, Novak didn't do his usual crowd salute, which he later said was because he believed they were booing him. I actually thought they were booing him at first too, but they were actually cheering Rune. Still, Novak probably won't be happy with the lack of crowd support, but maybe it should be expected. Remember, the last time Djokovic played in front of the New York crowd, he was booed for a tie-break against Stanislav Wawrinka. It'll be interesting to see how both Novak and the crowd react as the tournament progresses. Looking at his mini section, Djokovic, assuming he beats Griekspoor, will play either McDonald or Nishikori. Karatsev advanced in 4 sets, but Alex de Minaur did fall to American Taylor Fritz in 4. 10-seed Uber Hurkacz came through in straights yesterday, as did Matteo Berrettini. However, his compatriots Sonego and Fognini were sent packing as they took L's to Alte and Pospisil respectively. Karen Khachanov was also among the fallen seeds, which really isn't surprising considering he played Lloyd Harris, who's been playing well all the season. Also, Olympic bronze medalist Pablo Carreño Busta lost to UCLA alum Maxime Cressy in 5 sets. Carreño Busta was up 2 sets to love and held 3 match points in the deciding tiebreak, but couldn't hold off the big serving American, who came up with some incredible shots to ultimately get the win. Cressy now plays Basilashvili, who got the walkover after Sebastian Korda retired mid-match due to food poisoning aftermath. Denis Shapovalov snapped his 4-match losing streak following Wimbledon with an impressive 2-2-3 win over Delbonis. Guillaume Monfils also won in straights, while Jannik Sinner and Alexander Bublik advanced in 4. Looking ahead to Day 3's order of play, Osaka and Medvedev will rule the day on Ash, while Goff Stevens, then Tsitsipas closes out in the night. Slam champs Muguruza, Azarenka, and Kerber take over Armstrong, while Arna Sabalenka and Andrei Rublev star on Grandstand. So that's all for this video, and let me know in the comments what you think about the results, plus the Djokovic and crowd, and the Tsitsipas drama. Also, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post a Day 3 recap. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.